Hi, I'm Nate, your masculinity and mindset coach. Today I'm going to be talking about the time it takes to build masculine frame. And I'm introducing this topic because so much of our society is conditioned to the idea that we can get things immediately. The reality is, with something like masculine frame, it takes years to build because true masculine frame has you become a complete man. You need to develop yourself physically, emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. And any one of those elements can be a weakness, such that if you're strong in the physical, emotional, and mental way, but maybe weak in a spiritual sense, then you'll suffer. Equally, if you're strong physically and mentally, but then weak emotionally, then again you'll suffer. I stress this because it's something that needs to be a lifestyle, and you need to have patience with yourself. The lifestyle is one of constant evolution, a commitment to your greatness. And this is where it really helps to have a vision for yourself that ensures your physical, emotional, spiritual, and mental growth and evolution. And to have lofty, ambitious goals that are inspiring to you in some way. The process of developing masculine frame is a process of self-mastery. And typically the best way to go about it is to master one of those foundations, the physical, emotional, or spiritual foundation. Once you've mastered one of the foundations, it's easier to transfer across to the next silo. So once you've developed yourself physically, for instance, the discipline, the consistency, the mental will that it takes to master something becomes transferable to a different area. So you start to learn how to master your emotional frame a lot easier once you've mastered your physical frame. You learn how to develop your mental frame once you've developed your physical frame. So they're complementary to each other. And the main thing is that often in this path of self-development and mastery, you will reach certain times when you plateau, certain times when you don't have the knowledge or the awareness to take yourself to the next level. And this is where it's important to have both patience, but also a huge advantage is to have a mentor or a mastermind or a group that can support you with those doldrum phases that you might encounter. Because there's likely to be someone in the group that can give you the knowledge or the wisdom, to give you the awareness to get beyond the obstruction that you've faced, to give you motivation or inspiration, encouragement. If you find yourself in a plateau where you lose that desire, you might even take some sort of hit emotionally or some sort of life event, which is often the case when we're in these paths to evolution and spiritual growth, because we have these shut off valves. See, often you'll see someone who becomes really committed to their personal growth and evolution at some stage will reach a point where they either injure themselves, where they have some sort of significant life event that causes them in a seemingly spontaneous way to have to stop in their progress. For instance, I've hurt my ribs, after a year of working out. And as I was starting to get an even greater peak and level of success, I sustained an injury that meant that I had to stop working out for a period of time. So what I did, I had a week or nearly 2 weeks where I completely stopped working out. But as quickly as possible, I returned to that disciplined behavior of working out, only I had to stop doing heavy lifting, and so I just basically did the bike. In those periods of events where, they're interjecting events that have you pause in some way, it's very important that you find a way to substitute with something you can do as soon as humanly possible. Because masculine frame erodes when it isn't constantly maintained. That level of discipline that holds you at your best, once you stop doing so, once you stop being consistent, your frame begins eroding and it becomes harder and it requires more energy and effort to get that momentum up again. And so this is why it's so critical that as you experience any sort of obstruction that you find a way to persist. For instance, another one is traveling. Often, if you're a high achiever, it might become difficult to have consistency at the gym. Well, when I travel, I build into my travels the convenience of working out at gyms. I find out where the gyms are in advance, or I book hotels where there is gyms, or I have home workouts that I'm able to do even if there's no gym lifting equipment. Or I find some other way like rock climbing or something that I can do in substitute with consistency. So it's really something you occasionally have to be quite strategic around to give yourself consistency. And the other thing I want to emphasize is often these seemingly random events that cause obstruction to your progress, they're not so random. Often they're symbolic or representative of a subconscious limitation that as you start to reach new peaks, new heights in your physical, emotional, spiritual development, then you'll find a way to sabotage them. And this is where it can really help to have some sort of mentor or coach that can help you to resolve your subconscious blocks that might be working against you, that might be restricting you from achieving your high levels of success that you are moving towards. And it's also important to re-emphasize a point to have patience with yourself. It's easy for frustration to kick in the moment you stop experiencing that momentum that you had created for yourself. And the patience with yourself can be also supported by personal reflection and evaluation of your progress up until that point. And the patience comes from having a long-term perspective, that it's a marathon, not a sprint, that it's okay to have occasional moments where you're tested and to know that you will triumph beyond when you're committed. That whilst you're learning, whilst you're adapting, once you're evolving, those moments where you're not experiencing as much speed in your trajectory, whether it's physically or emotionally, when you take a moment to reflect how far you've come, you can have renewed inspiration that the efforts of your endeavors are being rewarded. And another important thing is to celebrate your progress. So as you achieve milestones, and I recommend in the accomplishment of your ultimate goal that you have milestones that you can move towards. These goals, these time-bound commitments that you move towards are tremendous in their supportive role to have you move towards your desired outcomes, because a long-term endeavor with no milestones, eventually you will, in my experience, you'll run out of steam. Your motivation over time may begin to wane. Whereas if you commit to, say, something that you can accomplish within 3 months, it tends to be a good period of time, and that can be your focal point. What I've noticed is whether it's, for instance, getting sick packed, or whether it's some sort of weightlifting outcome or pull-up outcome to accomplish some specific skill set, time on the nail boards, length, duration of meditation, some of the examples of the things that I've done, you'll tend to accomplish a lot within a 3-month period. And what I also do is I rotate between different milestones. So I might make a physical sprint where I'm really pushing myself to gain a certain outcome within 3 months. Then I allow my body to rest a little bit as I begin to work on my mental frame, where I might learn something to focus my mind, something for productivity. I might increase my meditation. And I don't give up the original ambition, which, for instance, if it was physical, I just make a new focus that allows my mind consider that I've got something new, that I'm able to become more adaptive to my environments, that I'm able to continuously build my skill sets. So the important thing is I don't let myself slip. I don't diminish my physical endeavors. I just now have reached a certain level of consistency and mastery that allows me to take on some new color, some new texture to my life, develop a new skill set complementary to the one that I focused on in the last 3 months. And the other big thing, which I've already mentioned, is to have a mastermind group or to be surrounded by brothers that are on a similar endeavor. The best gains that I've made physically have been when I've had a training buddy or a workout partner where we go to the gym twice a day typically, and we're in competition with each other to see our progress. Having a training partner who holds you to your edge, who calls you forward, who's in competition with you in a healthy way, is a way to elevate yourself in your trajectory to an even higher outcome and return on your investment of your time, energy, and attention. So I hope this has been valuable to you. It's a life ambition, and to become an extraordinary man requires an extraordinary endeavor. And that's where you need to have a level of commitment in your physical, emotional, and spiritual endeavors so that you can really hold your own in any area that you choose to give your energy, time, and attention to. Thanks so much for watching. If you'd like support in your endeavors to becoming an extraordinary man, I encourage you to join the Sovereign Brotherhood. You can also gain my support directly as a one-to-one coach by organizing a 15-minute call. The details are provided in the captions below this video. Thanks again for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.